The beloved sitcom Young Sheldon, a prequel to The Big Bang Theory, is known for its heartwarming moments, clever humor, and the nuanced portrayal of its quirky characters. One of the most poignant relationships in the show is the sibling dynamic between Sheldon and Georgie Cooper. Their interactions have shifted over time from light-hearted sibling rivalry to deeper, emotionally resonant moments that emphasize how differently they view the world. However, a new character, Mandy, has added a complex layer to the already strained relationship between the two, making their feud even more heartbreaking. Mandy, Georgie's girlfriend, is introduced as someone who seems to ground Georgie in a way his family hasn't been able to. She's not just the love interest for the older Cooper sibling. She becomes a pivotal character that shines a light on the underlying tensions in Georgie's life and his relationship with Sheldon. Although Mandy doesn't actively engage in the sibling conflict, her presence is like a catalyst for the unraveling of an emotional thread that has been silently tugging at Georgie and Sheldon for years. The roots of Sheldon and Georgie's feud. At the core of the feud between Sheldon and Georgie lies a mix of misunderstandings, jealousy, and personal insecurities. Sheldon, a child prodigy with a brilliant mind, has always been on a different intellectual plane compared to his older brother. Georgie, on the other hand, is the normal sibling, someone whose interests and abilities don't align with Sheldon's intellectual prowess. Growing up, Sheldon's superiority complex and lack of empathy likely made it difficult for him to connect with Georgie, while Georgie, feeling overshadowed by Sheldon's intelligence, likely harbored resentment. While Sheldon's love for science and order often drove him to isolate himself from his family, Georgie found solace in different things, including sports and later, relationships. Georgie may have struggled with a sense of not being good enough in Sheldon's eyes, which is a recurring theme throughout their interactions. For Sheldon, however, it was often hard to recognize that Georgie's life and his approach to the world were valid, given how focused he was on logic and rationality. This underlying tension is what makes the introduction of Mandy all the more complicated. As Georgie's girlfriend, she represents a new chapter in his life, a more mature, stable, and responsible Georgie. In her, Georgie finds someone who accepts him without judgment, unlike Sheldon, who has always scrutinized his choices. It's not just about Georgie's romantic relationship. Mandy serves as a reminder of what Georgie has always wanted: validation and understanding from those closest to him, particularly Sheldon. Mandy's role as a catalyst for Georgie's change. Mandy isn't merely a side character who exists to fill space in Georgie's life. She plays a transformative role. Her presence in Georgie's life leads him to make some life-altering decisions, including taking on more responsibility and being more open about his vulnerabilities. While Georgie's romantic life with Mandy seems to be taking a positive direction, it simultaneously brings to light how much he's been emotionally stunted by his relationship with Sheldon. In a way, Mandy represents the opportunity for Georgie to carve out his own identity separate from Sheldon. With her, Georgie can make choices without feeling like he's constantly living in Sheldon's shadow. This is particularly significant because for so long, Sheldon's presence overshadowed Georgie's sense of self-worth. Georgie may have come to feel as though his value was solely based on how Sheldon viewed him. Mandy's arrival in Georgie's life gives him the chance to break free from that paradigm, but it also creates a space where he has to reconcile the conflict between wanting his brother's approval and wanting to be his own person. Sheldon's inability to understand Georgie's choices. The tragic part of this situation is how Sheldon continues to view Georgie's life through his narrow, logical lens. Sheldon, with all his intelligence, has always struggled to see the nuances of the human experience. His rigid thinking makes him unable to grasp the complexity of Georgie's decisions, including his relationship with Mandy. Sheldon's logical approach to life, leads him to undermine Georgie's choices, both in his personal life and in the way he handles relationships. Sheldon's inability to empathize with Georgie, especially in regard to Mandy, deepens the rift between the two brothers. In Sheldon's eyes, Georgie's life seems chaotic and unfocused, especially when he sees Georgie pursuing relationships that may not follow the blueprint of success Sheldon has in mind. Sheldon's reaction to Georgie's life choices isn't one of support or love, but rather an almost clinical detachment, as if Georgie's decisions don't meet the criteria for being valid. This detachment from Sheldon only serves to isolate Georgie even more. What makes the feud even more heartbreaking is that, despite all of Sheldon's intelligence, he fails to understand that he is the reason for much of Georgie's resentment. While Sheldon may have had his own struggles with understanding the world, Georgie's challenges were rooted in the need for human connection, something Sheldon didn't provide. Sheldon's lack of empathy for Georgie becomes a recurring issue that only intensifies as Georgie tries to assert his independence in his relationship with Mandy. Georgie's struggle for validation. Georgie's journey throughout young Sheldon has always been one of self-discovery, and Mandy plays a pivotal role in this. Georgie's relationship with her gives him an avenue to break free from the need for Sheldon's approval, but at the same time he's left grappling with his brother's absence of validation. This tension is an emotional weight that Georgie carries even as he matures into adulthood. What makes this situation so tragic is that Sheldon's coldness toward Georgie is rooted in Sheldon's own insecurities. Sheldon's intellect and emotional distance make it difficult for him to process the emotions of others, which is why he doesn't see the pain that his words and actions inflict on his brother. Sheldon's desire to be right, to be the one who holds the intellectual high ground, pushes him away from truly understanding Georgie's struggles. The love that should exist between siblings is suffocated by Sheldon's lack of emotional intelligence. The heartbreak of missed opportunities. The true heartbreak in the dynamic between Sheldon, Georgie, and Mandy is that there are constant opportunities for reconciliation that never come to fruition. Mandy's role highlights this because she represents the possibility of healing for Georgie. Through her, Georgie could have found the support he's long needed to bridge the gap between him and Sheldon. However, Sheldon's inability to empathize leaves no room for these opportunities. Instead of reaching out to Georgie with understanding, Sheldon's actions continue to alienate him, and Georgie, in turn, withdraws emotionally. This cycle of misunderstanding and missed opportunities leaves both brothers at odds with each other, unable to break free from the emotional prison that Sheldon's intelligence and lack of emotional insight have built around them. Conclusion. Mandy's introduction to young Sheldon serves as a heartbreaking mirror to the dysfunctional relationship between Sheldon and Georgie. While Mandy represents a chance for Georgie to grow, to be loved, and to find validation outside of Sheldon's judgment, she also underscores the tragedy of what could have been. Sheldon and Georgie's feud, fueled by a lack of understanding and empathy, becomes even more poignant in the face of Mandy's influence. The missed opportunities for reconciliation, compounded by Sheldon's inability to reach out to his brother emotionally, make this sibling conflict not just an intellectual one, but an emotional one as well, making it all the more heartbreaking.